Okay, so let's start. And today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic, and it's slightly off the grid. Why I say it's off the grid? Because normally when you talk about coaching, it is always about coaching other people. And there is a kind of a thought process in the business today that it is difficult to coach oneself. Having said that, most of us throughout our lives have always achieved things by ourselves. However, there is a certain support structure you do require to achieve results in life, and you can't do it all alone. So, what I intend to do in the next maybe an hour or so, give you a framework which I have used very successfully, firstly for myself, and also when I have kind of trained people in 150 plus organizations and supported them in making the changes they so desire. From an ideal point of view, it is always better for us to work with an organization for a longer period of time. But again, because of the shortage of time and effort that they want to put in, they do at times want a structure which can enable them to take the journey alone. And in that journey, of course, they support each other. So this is the journey we have created for them. And I thought it was a relevant topic to talk about because of the major changes we are going through as of now in our lives. So with that context of what we are doing, let us also put into context as to who is this for. So it shouldn't happen that you are in this call and at the end of it you suddenly realize that's not for me. And that will be a huge waste of time. So first, it's for any professional, whether you are in a Fortune 500 company or in a SME or even in a startup. So any professional who needs to achieve results, who needs to make changes in his own life and in his own behavior so that the person gets better and better, it is for that person. Now, a few people who came to such webinars of mine came up and said, Pawan, I have a challenge here because I am not working for organization, I am working for myself. So my answer to them was, are you wanting to make some changes in your own life and in your own behavior to get better results? They say yes. I said, fair enough. If that is so, if you're not working for a company but working for yourself, it is still going to be relevant to you. So it's actually relevant to anybody who wants to get better and grow beyond what he is. So many a times, especially when you reach my age or closer to it, we tend to start believing that we know it all. Because we have been successful, we just need to continue to do what we have been doing. And retirement age aa jayega, and after that, we'll be in a happy state of mind. However, today, if not for you, but for people around you, and to be able to add value to them, there is a need for us to change. So this webinar is fundamentally for anybody who wants to make some changes in his life. Could be personal, could be professional, it doesn't matter. Because the process that I'm going to share with you is a universal process. Now, coming to that, let me make a bold promise to you. The bold promise I like to make you is that if you stay back for the entire duration of this webinar, I promise you, you would have got some exceptional proven tools and techniques on how to be able to achieve goals in a more consistent manner without too much of effort, without too much of time being wasted. So that's my promise to you. With that promise, I would also like to tell you that if you stay till the end of this webinar, I would then offer you very humbly this manual, this book that is there, Coaching Yourself to Success. It's a 14-page manual which gives you the steps that are required to make the changes that you're going to talk about. And a number of them I'm going to speak here in this hour or so. And also I'm going to not be able to cover everything, but then it is in this manual here. So if you are here at the end of this webinar, just drop me a mail at pavan@pmconsulting.in, PAVAN @PM, P for Paris, M for Madras, consulting.in, and I will share this manual with you. Because I want this time to be of use to you. It shouldn't be that you spend 1 hour, you hear a lot, but then you don't have a takeaway to be able to refer to after you finish this 1 hour with us. Okay, so this is something that you may not know about me. That I had a fantastic career in my life. I was in the corporate world, I was in the public sector, then I came to the corporate world. Every 2 to 3 years, I was growing and reaching new heights. And I would consider myself to be exceptionally successful in my professional life. And what happened was I kept growing till I became a senior VP in a very large company where I was handling a role which was pan-India role. And then suddenly one day, I was called by my CEO and said, "Thank you for your services. You have done great work for us, but from tomorrow or maybe after a couple of months, we don't need you because then of course there's an agreement with us. And thank you so much for your services." So having been here and having reached a senior VP position and now aspiring to become a CEO, where did I end up? I ended up back again to point zero. Now that was a huge disappointment to me, and I, in the initial stages, became a victim, right? And I kept blaming the world for it. They don't understand me. I'm a man with values. They don't have values. Till I started then working with companies and also started interacting with the world's best leadership gurus, mainly to find out where did I go wrong, and if I made a mistake, how can I prevent people in corporate life to not make that mistake? And I will say professional life. So there are a few things that I learned based on my interaction with the world's best teachers and the best organization, research-based organization, which I'll talk about. And one fundamental aspect I learned was that learning is never in an automatic mode. So you do not automatically grow. So your growth, if it has to be substantial and if it has to be focused, needs to be done in a manner which is intentional and incremental. So both things need to happen. You need to have an intentional and an incremental approach, because that's the only way you can grow. And if you forget this, you may be growing, but you may be growing in the wrong direction, one. Secondly, if you wait for the crisis like I had to hit you on the face and then start wanting to grow in one huge jump, that's not going to happen, because as I said, it has to be intentional, but more important, incremental. So these two learnings I learned, and this is what I also shared with tens and thousands of people that I've trained in 150 odd companies. So there are some companies that I have worked with. I couldn't put everybody on the slide, but yes, I'll just try to put all the companies with different industries. Some could be service, some could be IT. And having worked with them, I further fine-tuned and kept on fine-tuning my process to support people, to give value to these professionals, to give value to themselves and value to others. So with that in mind, I also started interacting with these great leadership gurus, and I'm all certified by all of them. John Maxwell is one of them. Of course, John Maxwell is the #1 leadership guru in the world. I also got trained by Robin Sharma. I also got trained by Marshall Goldsmith. So I kept on imbibing and spending a lot of time, money in trying to enable myself and grow myself. And thereby now I've created a structure where you don't have to spend so much time, effort, and money and huge experience to be able to make the journey of your life growth focused rather than purely goal focused. So that's where I got all these inputs from, and that's what I'm going to share with you. And also, I'm associated with 8 different research-based leadership organizations. I've traveled the world to sit down with them and learn from them. Collective Leadership Institute in Berlin, I went there 3 times, got trained by them, learned from them. Leadership Global is all about research on emotional intelligence and ethical intelligence. as connectable to neuroscience. So all these, I started investing time, money, and energy on it because I had gone through pain which I didn't want anybody else to go through. Now with all this learnings that I had, I've come down to 7 simple steps that need to be followed by anyone to be able to grow himself and be in a path of continuous growth. One thing people talk about, I don't know how many of you have seen the 3 videos that I sent you, but I will send you them back again to you. They are the pre-training videos, in which one of the videos talks about the fact is that for you to grow, you have to agree to the fact that you need a structure, you need a process, and you need help. And saying, I need help because I have tried to grow in some areas of my life and not been very successful is not a bad thing. In fact, it enables you to open yourself to growth and learning. And I also talked about in the second video that there are 3 human qualities that one needs to keep growing. The human quality of humility. I need to be humble to say, I'm good, but I can get better. You also need to have the courage to keep moving out of your comfort zone, stretching yourself and being uncomfortable. So being comfortable in the uncomfortable is something all of us need to do if we really want to grow. And very surprisingly, the senior we become, the lesser we want to get into that area of fear. Because now a very important facet comes into being, our ego. Because if I start stretching myself, my ego starts getting a hit. And by a certain point in time, our ego has become big enough not to want to get into these areas which gives it discomfort. So the first human quality you need is humility to agree, I'm great, but I can get better. Courage to keep stretching yourself, moving out of your comfort zone. And the third, having done these 2, is to now start walking the talk by having discipline in your life. So discipline, humility, and courage are 3 human qualities one needs, and they are all imbibed into these 7 steps that we are going to talk about. Let's see what these 7 steps are. The first step, of course, is the step of having an inspiring vision. See, we as human beings, when we start working with people or working with people to achieve something bigger than ourselves, larger than ourselves, we certainly get excited about it. So there are 2 things. There has to be a bigger purpose and a common cause. 2 elements. I have to work on a bigger purpose, bigger than myself, which I know somebody just walked in. I'll just admit them also. Okay. So the first thing that you need to do is find an inspiring vision which is bigger than yourself, which excites you, which inspires you. You need to be inspired, right? And inspiration comes from, inspiration is nothing but in spirit. It has to come from inside you. The spirit needs to be excited. So that is why we need an inspiring vision which inspires us, which makes us take that hurt of moving outside the comfort zone. But when we see our inspiring vision, the vision is so beautiful that we say, oh my God, this hurt is not worth, it is nothing compared to what I'm going to achieve. So having got made that inspiring vision for ourselves, we need to now next go to the next element, that is having clear, measurable goals. Because if I have a larger vision, big vision, but I don't have measurable goals, because that inspiring vision would require a journey of years to achieve. Only then it is inspiring enough, right? Now for us to be able to do that, we need to have goals. 1-year goal, maybe 5-year goal broken down to 1-year goal, broken down to 1-month goal. And when we have these goals and these are measurable goals, we can measure and get a feedback to ourselves whether we are growing or not growing. So that's the next thing, we need to have challenging goals. Having got the challenging goal, we need to now make a plan. We need to make milestones. And that is where the strategy comes in. We need to create a plan. We need to create milestones. Also, as one of the myths that I talked about in my third video, if you did not see that, one myth is that all my plans will work perfectly. Please remember, whatever time, money and effort that you invest in making your plan, I promise you it will never work perfectly. And sometimes we fall in love with our plan so much that we do not make the changes in our plan because we said, इतना काम हमने किया था यार, अब change थोड़ी करूंगा. But the fact remains, in reality, anything that we made sitting in a room with 20 different people and all experts giving us inputs as to what the plan should be, when we take it to the real world and implement it, we start getting blindsided by an environment, by situations, by a large number of things that we couldn't even have planned for because environment is continuously changing. Who could ever imagine Corona, right? So these small things start coming to us, and while we are going to create a powerful strategy, and based on that powerful strategy, if we start working on high impact goals to achieve that strategy. So you have created a milestone. Milestone is something which is maybe a month from now. To achieve that milestone, I need to do actions, and I need to do not low impact actions. I need to do high impact actions, and we'll talk about how do you create high impact actions. Because I could be very busy, but still achieve nothing in life. A lot of people say, Pawan, बहुत busy hai. I'm sorry, there's somebody else come, so I'll just. Yeah. So a lot of people say, Pawan, I'm so busy, I work so hard, but nobody respects me for it. Right? I'm achieving nothing out of it. So that's a time to kind of realize that maybe the kind of action that you are doing or what you are focusing on and giving priority may not be the right priority to give. Maybe. So I'm not taking any sides now. I'm not saying they are wrong, I'm right, or anything like that. But the fundamental fact is you need to take actions which are focused towards achieving your milestones, and the action should be high impact, which only you can do and nobody else can do. And if somebody else can do, I must give it to them to be able to do it. Because if I have to do everything myself, I won't be able to do much in life. So what have we done? We have created an inspiring vision, beautiful. We have created a measurable goals. We have created a powerful strategy, broken that goals into milestones. We have also identified weekly actions that we are going to do on a high impact basis. Weekly, right? Because any growth is, as I said, incremental, week by week by week by week. Then you need to do action learning. And you also need to, having done action learning, because once you act, you aren't going to succeed every time. You are going to learn from the actions that you do. I ask this question to people in the webinars or workshops that I do. I ask them one simple question. How many of you agree? And you can just write yes, no, or whatever. Right? Just write down yes if you agree to this statement that I'm going to make. We learn through our experiences. Just write on the chat, yes or no. We learn through our experiences. So unfortunate part is we never learn through our experiences unless we reflect on experiences. So action learning is nothing but reflection on what we did. Based on what we did, we had some learnings. Based on the learnings that we had, we imbibe these new learnings into our next action to make it better. And then when we tried this over and over again, we came to a solution which was now workable. So with this fifth element, we come to the sixth element is, and a very important element. All of us at some point in time lose our mojo. What is a mojo? Motivation. It's the inherent spirit of wanting to achieve something and be excited about it. Haven't we done this so many times? At least I have done it. And I'm proud of it. That every new year, I created an action plan or a goal. And I stuck to it for exactly 2 weeks and then gave it up, saying, not worth it. So how do I keep that momentum alive? And how do I keep my inspiration alive to be able to continuously work on that goal of mine? Because many a time it's not so pleasurable to work on something which is beyond what you are today. So how do you refuel your mojo? The third thing that we need to also, seventh thing that we now need to work on is how do we hold ourselves accountable? Especially when there's nobody around us holding us accountable. So these 7 elements are what we're going to talk about. And if there's a question, you can just put in the chat of the Zoom. If there's any question till so far, and if not, we can move forward. Just type in the question and I would love to take that. Okay, I'm excited to move forward. Great going. Thank you so much. Great. So having got that, Dani sir, lovely. So let's now create an inspiring vision for ourselves. Let's create this beautiful vision that we should be really excited to get up every morning, jump out of bed and say, this is the day I'm going to make the most beautiful day of my life. So let's create this vision. Now to create a vision, you need to firstly enhance your awareness about your own self. The fact is, in life is we all are different. Our needs and our wants are different. Our success factor measurements are different. We have different values and different passions. So unless I don't tap into my inner self and find out what my inspiration is all about, how do I create an inspiring vision for myself? So you must know yourself to grow yourself. And do you have a sense of direction? Can only happen because your direction, there is no perfect direction, right? If I like doing painting, somebody may hate doing painting, right? If I like interacting with people, some other people may be introverts. Does it mean the person is right, I am wrong? No. But the fact is there will be different elements which will inspire us. So let's see what these elements can be. So before we go there, there are 3 kinds of people that I have interacted with in context to this. In context to trying to find their direction. So there are some people who don't know what they would like to do and thereby don't do it. They are the confused lot. Then the second kind of people are people who know what they want to do. They know it exactly, Pawan Karna was, but never get about doing it. And they are the frustrated lot. Then there are a few people like you, all sitting there, who exactly know what you want to do and you do it. These are the fulfilled lot. And I know anybody who's come now for this webinar or anybody who's hearing this on Facebook Live or anybody who in future will listen to this are those people who want to get into this category of being fulfilled. So to do that, there has to be some work that we need to do because fulfillment cannot be that easy. To do that, we need to identify 3 things for ourselves. Firstly, what are my core values? Every person has a core value. And if we are able to demonstrate behavior in our day-to-day life, which is connected to my core value, I am a fulfilled person. I'm an inspired person. Second is, what is your passion? Difficult question, right? What is it that I'm really passionate about? What ignites the fire in me? So we'll talk about it. Difficult question, but I've come up with a few questions to be able to come out to find out what your true passion is. And the third, what are my strengths and what are my areas of development? So the first 2 are fundamentally going to come to you from inside you. Nobody can tell you what your passion is. In fact, you try telling your child what their passion is and what they should do. You will get to know. You don't even know the passion of your own child, and even if you think you know, the child will come back to you and say, Dad, you don't even know me. That's not what I'm passionate about. Right? So the passion and values are all internal to me. Nobody around me can really find it for myself. However, there's an outside in approach also, which is all about strengths and weaknesses. For strengths and weaknesses, it is also relevant for us to take inputs from people outside us. Why? Because a lot of behaviors that we demonstrate, unfortunately, we are not aware of. People who are seeing us are more aware of our behaviors than us being aware of our own behaviors. So both things you need to tap. And let's go down. What do you do after you tap it? After you tap it, you're going to put it into a statement, which you're going to put in front of you. And the statement is, each day, I uphold the values of. Now that is where you are going to put 2 or 3 values that you truly believe in, that truly define you as a human being. So you're going to write down, each day I uphold the values of, let's say, humility in all that I do. If humility is your value. And imagine what happens if you read this every morning, right? And every night. And you then start actually living your values, you'll find that you're more fulfilled than you would be now. Second is, I am filled with vitality and passion when I do what? What fills me with passion and vitality? Third is, each week I grow in the key areas of my life, including your areas of strength. A lot of us have heard about Strength Finder, right? And there's a new thought coming up, or in fact, an old thought which is now becoming new, to say, work on your strength, forget about your weaknesses. I don't quite agree to it. I certainly believe in the fact we must work on our strengths, but some critical areas of development which are critical to my life needs to be focused on, and we need to get better at it. Not all weaknesses. If let's say I'm not a good singer, right, and I don't have any passion or aim or goal in being going to Indian Idol, I don't need to unnecessarily waste my time on it unless it gives me passion. Right? So that's what you need to work on. You need to work on your strengths. Also, the last is, I feel content and enriched each day because I capitalize on my natural strengths of. So what are your natural strengths? By doing what? How are you actually applying your natural strengths to work and your home area? So that's a vision statement we all need to create, and this not only do we need to create, it needs to be available with us to be able to keep reading every day, so we feel inspired, right? And you're going to also have, each week I grow in the areas. This is where you put your goals, the goals that we are going to define for ourselves. And these are the continuously development is the areas where you want to improve your skills, where you are not good at as of now, but these are critical to your life. So this is the entire statement we need to create for ourselves, and it will be unique for each one of us. So with that in mind, I just put on the slide here a few values. Just pick up 3 values that you think are important to you. Just kind of write it for your own self. And I won't ask you about it, I promise you. It's your own, for your own work. When we actually do it, it's a much longer process, but here we are just trying to do everything in a constricted time frame. Okay, so pick up your 3 values for you to have better awareness about yourself. So that's the first element. The second element is, find out what you are passionate about. And now the question comes, how? Sir, you're telling us all this, but tell us how. Now this took me some years to really identify. And I tried it and I kept on trying it till I think I found the answer to it. It can always get better. But the first question you need to ask yourself to find out what you are truly passionate about is, what is it that I do which makes me lose sense of time? I get so engrossed in it. When I do that work, and after that I finished it, I look up and I say, my God, 2 hours gone already? Oh God, how fast time flies. This is also a state of flow, like my friend Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He's the father of flow. And again, I interacted with his content with him to become a flow-based leadership trainer. So he talks about this flow, a state. When you get into that state, you lose sense of time. So what is it that I do which makes me lose sense of time? The second question that I need to ask myself is, what is it that I do which makes me more energetic after I do it than when I started it? Now this actually disagrees with the law of energy, right? Physics. And physics says that whenever you put in some work, you tend to lose energy. But I'm talking about what is that activity that you do, that when you finish doing it, you feel more energy than when you started it. I can tell you for one. Somebody else just coming in 1 second. So let me tell you one more thing about myself, and that is very simple. That when I get into a state of interacting with people, like right now I'm interacting with you, I had a certain energy when I started, but by the time I finished this session of mine, I would have much more energy than when I started the session with you. So much energy that it will take me a couple of hours to get back to normal. So this activity that you do, the passion that you have, when you engage in that passion, the passion gives you back energy. And that is one of the questions you need to ask yourself to find out what your true passion is. The first is, what is that I do which makes me lose sense of time? Second, when I finish doing it, I seem to have more energy than when I started doing it. So the second two questions are here. The third question that we should ask ourselves, what is it that comes easily to me? What is it that comes easily to me while I find others struggling to achieve? Like I said, each one of us has different passions. If I'm really passionate about something, I will find it easier to achieve results than what others are doing in the same activity, because I'm a natural in it. So the first question we ask ourselves to find out what we are truly passionate about is, what is it that I do that when I do, I lose sense of time? Second, what is it that when I do, that when I finish it, I have more energy in me than when I started it, because my passion always tends to give me more energy than what I expend in it. And the third is, what comes easily to me while I find others struggling to achieve? Now I found out these questions. I was so excited about it. So there was a friend. I went to his house and he said, Pawan, wow, what great questions. I want you to ask my daughter these questions, because she is not being able to find a passion in life. I said, no problem. Why didn't you call her? So this young girl, just out of college, came out. We sat down. I said, Beta, what are you wanting to do? She said, that's the problem. I don't know what I'm passionate about. So I said, okay, let me give you 3 questions. And I rattled out these 3 questions to her and said, write it down, think about it, come back to me after a week. So the moment she wrote it down, she said, Uncle, I know already. I said, no, Beta, relax. It's not that easy. It will take you time and effort to find out what it is, right? Take some time, think about it. She said, no, I know it. I said, okay, tell me what it is. She said, Uncle, very simple, sleep. When I sleep, I lose sense of time. I don't even know. Uncle, that's my problem. Once I sleep, I can sleep for 18 hours. When I sleep and get up, I have more energy than when I slept. Very true. And the last but not the least is, I find that I can easily sleep, but my parents are struggling to achieve it. And that's the time I then ask her the next question. I say, great, if this are the 3 things that you have identified and you have come out with an answer of sleep, Then comes the fourth question, and the question is, are the passions of mine meeting an unmet need in the society? Because if I'm passionate about something, but it does not meet an unmet need or a need in the society, it's only worthless. It's completely worthless. It is only meant to satisfy my personal ego and nothing else. So does sleep meet the unmet need of you serving and providing value to people around you? Is the answer yes or no? She said no. So that's the last question that you must find out or ask yourself to find out what you are truly passionate about. So just before that, we said we need to have an inspiring vision in our life, a vision that truly inspires me, that truly defines me. To be able to do that, the first step that we did is identify our own values. So we saw a few values, pick up 2 or 3 values that truly define you. For me, it is humility and knowledge. I love gaining knowledge, right? But having got a lot of knowledge, I have seen a lot of people, when they have a lot of knowledge, they also become egoistic, that I don't want to. I'm a humble man, I want to be humble. And that is one value I could not express myself when I was in my corporate life. And that was the sad part of it. I was always wondering, why is it that I'm not being able to get satisfaction when I'm in a corporate life? And now I realized there was a value of mine which was not finding its due place in the work that I was doing, because whenever I showed humility, I got kicked, I got taken advantage of. But right now, it's a different game. Now, the more humble I can be, the better I am. And that is now making me more fulfilled in my life. So we have identified our values, we have identified our passions. So with these 2 things that we have come to, now we can fill up a personal vision statement which says, each day I will uphold the values of, insert your values here, in that I do. Before you sleep, ask yourself, have I been able to do that? Have I done it? Because at times, if you don't intentionally focus on doing or demonstrating behaviors which show your value, you will find that you're not happy. If you like interacting with people, like my wife, she loves interacting with people. The day she doesn't interact with somebody, she doesn't feel fulfilled. And as I said, every man different. There's no right or wrong here. The next is, I am filled with vitality and passion when I insert your passions here. Third is, each week I grow. Now, when we come to our goals, and we are also going to go through goal setting, when we come to my 3 most important goals for the first year, I will insert them also here in my vision statement, so that I keep reading my vision statements over and over again to get to know whether I'm being able to inspire myself and have an inspiring life. So this is what I had created for myself, other than the goals, because my goals are still under revision for this year. Each day I uphold the values of humility and knowledge in all that I do. I am filled with vitality and passion when I facilitate and coach. Each week I grow in the key areas of my life, including, now I have put out my 3 goals here for 2021. I feel content and rich each day because I capitalize on my natural strengths of hard work and enthusiasm by doing organizational interventions on leadership. I am continuously developing through research-based leadership skills and their delivery for the sheer joy of doing something I love doing. So as I promised you, once you send me an email, I'll send you that manual. So you will have all of this available with you for you to ponder over and to be able to write your own personal vision statement. Okay, let's go about now building our goals. Any question anybody has, you can just type on the Zoom, and I'll be delighted to answer it. So how's it going? If you are connecting with what's happening right now, just write a 1 on the chat. Just write a 1. And chat on the Zoom. Okay, great. Okay, let's start making our challenging goals now. Again, I don't know whether you saw the 3 videos that I sent you, but there are 3 myths of goal setting. I'll just quickly put them down here so that anyone who's not gone through it can understand the 3 myths. The first myth of goal setting is set an easy to achieve goal. Myth. What is more exciting is select a challenging to achieve goal. Why is that? Whatever goal you achieve or you want to achieve will be beyond where you are today. So it's something like this. So this is where we are. Right? This is where my present state is. This is my existing status. A goal is always beyond where I am. So this is my goal. So easy or difficult, irrespective of what it is, my goal will always be beyond where I am today. Okay, if that is so, the first thing that I need to do to achieve any goal of mine is move out of my comfort zone. This is my comfort zone. Right? When you move out of your comfort zone, what happens? You feel pain. So whenever you get out of your comfort zone, one thing certain that's going to happen is you're going to feel pain. Once you feel pain, then you're going to look at your goal, and a goal is always associated with a reward. If you find the reward is not big enough to accept this pain, what will you do? You say, to hell with it, let me go back. Right? However, if this reward is inspiring, if your goal is inspiring, and you take the first step outside and you feel pain, but you look at the reward and say, my God, once I reach there, imagine what I'm going to feel, the kind of reward that I'm going to feel, and thinking of that reward, you will continuously take those small steps of pain and accept those painful steps of movement and journey forward. So that's the first myth of goal setting. And the myth of goal setting is choose inspiring to achieve goals, not simple to achieve. The second myth of goal setting was I must know how to achieve a goal before I set it. I must know how to achieve a goal before I set it. Meaning what? I should have made a plan, and the plan that I make must be made so well that it will work perfectly fine without any hiccups at all. And what did we realize? That's a myth. Right? We said this is a myth. It's not going to happen. Yeah. So this is a myth. Why? Because any plan that we make will fail, have no doubt about it. But the very fact that we know that a plan once made will have its own areas of failure through which I will learn. If that is acceptance is known to you and me, we will be able to accept those failures in our lives because we know that is a very natural way of things to happen. Right? A lot of people fall in love because they spend so much time making a plan towards the goal, invested effort, time, money, got all consultants, experts, that they keep sticking to their plan even though the environment has changed, even though they are failing in achieving the results that they want, but they are refusing to make the change in the plan. So the second myth is, and the reality is what? Every plan will fail. And through this failure will come learning, which will help us make the adjustments that are required to finally achieve the goal that I want. Third myth is very interesting myth, and don't switch off your laptops before you understand the answer to it. Because once I give you this myth, you will say, what the hell is he talking about? And the myth is, the main reason why we set goals are to achieve them. Myth. So if the main reason of why we set goals are not to achieve them, then what is it? The main reason why we set goals are to grow, period. Nothing more, nothing less. So if I have an inspiring goal, which is not an easy goal, and through that journey, I keep making the right adjustments and learning new skills and getting more resources and learning more and changing my plan, even if I don't achieve the goal, I should not get disheartened that the goal has not been achieved. I should look back and look at the journey of growth and say, my God, look at this. I have achieved that. In fact, I was coaching one of these corporate, very senior people. And in this interaction that I had with them, they had got two professional goals, one personal goal, and one of the personal goals was I want to get fit and more healthy. And for that, they had taken a very simple thing. He said, I will go for a walk 5 times a week. So I met him after a month and I said, just take his name. Hi Rajesh, how are you? How are things going? How's goal number 1? How's goal number 2? How's goal number 3? So when I came to goal number 3, he said, Pawan, nothing's happening. I'm sorry, I'm a complete failure. Yaar, I will never get healthy. I will lose entire my everything because of my health. I said, what happened? He said, Pawan, I promised you 5 days a week, right? Do you know what I did? I did only 3 days a week. Some weeks I was able to do 4, but most of the time, on an average, I was just going for my walk 3 days a week for 1 hour. I kind of failed in achieving my 5 days of walk. Right, Rajesh, just tell me one thing. How much of this walk were you going for before you even started this journey with me? He says 0. I say, imagine what you are doing. Can you even see the success story? Yeah, you were never going for a walk ever. And now you're going 3 times a week and you're taking it as a failure. Acknowledge the growth that has taken place. Celebrate the growth and appreciate yourself. And having done that, now take the next step to get there. So the main reason any one of us should take goals are to grow as a human being, both personally and professionally. Now, how do you make this? Again, there's an entire methodology of doing it. Write down your various roles of your life, the roles that you are playing, both in your personal life and professional life. Having written down those roles, ask yourself, are you satisfied in that role or not? Right? So if I was to make a professional roles, I'm a coach, I'm a facilitator, I'm also a CEO or a business development guy, right? And I'm also a learner. So I write down all these 4 areas here and say, which of the areas I'm satisfied in. So I write down satisfied, not satisfied. In my personal life, I'm a father, I'm a parent, I'm a financial provider, I'm a person who needs to look after the most important person in my life, that is me, right? So write down all these 4 roles that I'm having. Again, write down satisfied or not satisfied. The first thing is identify various roles, both professional and personal. Which are some of these where you are satisfied in what you are doing and which of you are not satisfied? The third element that you need to now write down is, after I now written not satisfied, just pick up the not satisfied and say, are these truly significant in my life? Some of them will have lesser significance, but what are we wanting to work on? I call them the tipping point behaviors. Tipping point goals. The goals, if I achieve, my life is going to change for the better big time, not small time. So based on the not satisfied and the significant, then you come up to say, what are my 3 to 4 priorities for the year? Write down 1, 2, 3, 4. Write down 4 at the maximum 5, not more than that. We in our experience of coaching people have identified 3 to be the best number, which people need to work on week to improve. So 3 are the ones that you will take as your most significant goals. I call them the most important goals. If there are some which are important but not that important, you may need to work on them, maybe not on a regular basis, on every week, but maybe once in 10 days or once in 15 days. So based on that, you come to your goals. And this is what the Google CEO said, and this is in context to what I said. You know, the main reason why we set our goals is to grow, not to achieve them. He says, when we write our company's objectives, if we meet 70% of our objectives, we consider that a success. Because that meant that we took stretch goals, not easy goals, inspiring goals. And if I can achieve 70% of my inspiring goal, that is always better than taking an easy goal and achieving 100% of it. So if we met 100% of our objectives, we think we didn't write them ambitiously enough. So I rather take an ambitious goal and achieve 70% of it rather than taking an easy goal and achieve it, but my growth has been limited because at the end of it, my only focus, my only reason of taking a goal is to grow. John Maxwell says it beautifully. He says, be grow oriented, not grow goal oriented. So be grow oriented, not goal oriented. Goal should be there, but the main purpose is in the aim, in the journey of that growth, of achieving that goal, we must grow as a human being. So having done that, then we write down our 3 goals. The goals, again, from my experience, the best way to write them is verb. Verb is what? Increase, decrease, improve. So if it is reducing your weight, reduce. Reduce weight from 85 kg to 75 kg by 31st December 2021. Increase my relationships. Increase or improve relationships from 3 to 5 or 8. So 3 are the ones that I have got good relationships as of now, and now I want this to move to 8 relationships by 31st December 2021. Now this statement of yours will change every month. Again, this is different to what we have been told about goal setting. And what did they tell us about goal setting? Goals never change. But in this, one part of this will change every month, or it should. And that is the X part of it. So if I was to reduce my weight from 85 to 75, after the month, this 85 should ideally be at least 83. So the next time when I come to it, I say reduce weight from 83 to 75. Why is this important? Because it shows us that we are moving in the right direction. It is a cause of celebration. Because if I continue from 85 to 75, 85 to 75, my cause of celebration is going to happen when I reach 75. And that's too far off, yeah. Why can't I have celebrations for every success that I have? And that is why every month when this number X changes, and hopefully for the better, I'm going to have a celebration for myself. Yahoo! And if it doesn't, again, it's a great learning to me to say that while I'm doing some actions, the actions are not high impact. And because they are not high impact, I need to now start getting inputs and from other resources to find out what can I do that can really make the difference in my life. So 3 goals: verb, dash from X to Y by when is the statement of your goal setting that should be done. It holds true for even business goals. Let's say business goal, increase revenue from, there's a company we work with, 2,500 crores to 3,800 crores in 1 year. So next month, what will happen? 2,500 is what you would have reached, maybe around 50 crores. So 50 crores to 3,800, 100 crores to 3,800. And every month you are seeing whether your journey of growth is happening or is it not. So inspiring vision made, your goal setting done. We now come to developing our strategies. Developing a strategy is nothing but simply creating your roadmap, creating your path, journey towards achievement of your goal. So it's all about milestones, because if you have to move from I'm here to where I want to go, There are going to be milestones that I'm going to achieve. Say 85 to 75, I'm going to say 83, 80, and likewise. So my milestones is the strategy that I'm going to work. In fact, there's a beautiful way of defining this. Suppose you were kidnapped and there was a blindfold put on your eyes and you felt that you were put into a car and the car moved from some time, and then you felt you were pushed into a plane and the plane moved from some time, and then you found yourself again stopping somewhere, putting into car, taken somewhere, and then somebody took you out, and for a while you didn't feel anything, and suddenly you realize your hands have become free. So you very gingerly opened your blindfold and you found yourself in an unknown place, standing on a pavement of a road. What is the first step that you will do? So the answer can be many. First is identify where I am. Secondly is identify where do I want to go. Thirdly, for me to move from where I am to where I want to go, what are the resources that I have? Fourthly, where can I get more information from and resources? Fifthly, having got those resources, how can I implement those resources or implement my action? And as you implement your action, how can I keep monitoring whether I'm going in the same right direction and make the changes that they are? So this is again a strategy. I'm here. I want to go to the police station. I have no money with me. The only way is that I can walk. However, if I walk, it is 20 kilometers. I need to find resources. Ask people around me, can you give me money? Can you help me? Having done that, finally somebody gives you money and you start going in a cycle or whatever. After every certain point in time, you ask somebody, am I going in the right direction? Is this the right way? Make the adjustments that they are and continue this journey till you reach the police station and then have a sigh of relief, have a chai and a samosa and celebrate that you have achieved your end. So we have done 3 things as of now, and the time is 5. So yeah, we still have time. So luckily, we are here till 6. Okay, so what have we done? Inspiring vision we have created. We have created our challenging goals. We have also created our strategy. Now comes the most important part, which many of us don't do. We believe once we have planned something, it will happen on its own. It won't. We need to take action. So life is not a spectator sport. You and me can enjoy a football match. But truly, if I want to be a football star, I can't be clapping on the galleries without jumping into the game and playing the game. So life is a contact sport. Life is all about action. Doing action, right? So this is exactly what life is, an action sport. Stop wondering and get into your game. I find a lot of people like this. They have a great idea in the head. They think deeply about that idea in their head. They see themselves plan how to achieve that in their head. They see themselves taking action and failing again in the head. And then they do nothing about it in the head. So everything's happening as an intellectual exercise. Fundamentally, the only way to achieve something is going and act around it, act on it. And let me tell you, when you act on it, you will fail. That's the reality of life. But as you fail, you will learn. And as you learn, you will make the progress that is required. So motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you going. We talked about the 3 human qualities which are required to change. The quality of humility, to accept, I need to get better. The quality of courage, to accept that I need to move out of my comfort zone, feel that pain, because without the pain, I'm not going to make any progress. And third, the quality of discipline. So let me give you a sad news that there are no magic pills to achieve success. The escalator to success is also under repair. It is never going to be repaired anytime soon. The only way to achieve big goals is through something known as a small win theory, and that is by incremental steps on a consistent basis over a period of time. So that's why what are we talking about? Weekly actions, one step at a time, week on week on week. And Robin Sharma said this so beautifully. Small consistent wins over a period of time lead to a tsunami of results. And there's also a 1% theory, and the 1% theory says, can you and me make a commitment to get better by 1% in the area that we want to get better in on a weekly basis? 1%. I've really seen anybody say, Pawan, it's not possible. 1% is certainly within the realms of possibility. But imagine, if I can improve by 1% every week, I have improved by at least 52% in a year. And I'm only talking about for people who are slightly mathematically inclined. I'm talking about simple interest and not compound interest. So 1% growth a week over a long period of time can make you grow big time. And that is a small win theory. And from there, I won't play this video, we need to come to the high impact actions that we need to take on a weekly basis. So what do? We have a goal. We break the goal into a monthly goal. Why not? Why do we only not keep a yearly goal? Because there's a fundamental concept. I love this concept. It says, further the goal, less the motivation to achieve it. 5-year goal, curling है ना यार. 1-year goal, बहुत time है. 1 month goal, boss, it is there. So unless you don't create an urgency around the goal that you are wanting to achieve, and that is why it is important to have monthly goals, and towards that monthly goal, because you know by the end of the month whether you have won or failed, right? So what are we doing here? We are creating a monthly goal, but we are creating weekly actions, high impact actions, which are going to support us in achieving that goal. And these high impact actions are connected to our strategy, our milestones. Now, how do you create this weekly high impact action? Very clearly, write down your goal, focus on your goal, because you need to, in this world of confusion that we are living in, we forget what is more important to us. So every week, you need to get touch in connection with the goal that you have decided are the most important goals for you. So put that goal in front of you, say, okay, goal number 1. Then find out what the strategy, where are you in the milestone, where are you in that strategy? Write down, what is my milestone that I have to achieve by the end of the month? Then write down the action that you are going to take this week that will support you in achieving that milestone at the end of the month. Now, this is a checklist that I've given you to find out whether you have created high impact goal or not. 1, it should be clearly stated with a measure. I will go and exercise 5 times a day for 1 hour in the gym. Very clearly stated, right? 5 times, 1 hour. Measurable, challenging but achievable. So go beyond your comfort zone. If you have been doing 4 days, or if you have been doing 5 days before, 1 hour, I will do for 1 hour 15 minutes, 1 hour 15 minutes, or 3 times I will do for 1.5 hours. Remaining 2 days I will do for 1 hour. So stretch beyond what you are doing last week or maybe last month, because in this stretch, your muscles get built up. Secondly, have a specific time and day to as a deadline. So I will do it next week every day. So it's very specific day and time every day. Or you may say 3 times a day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I will do the gym. On Tuesday and Thursday, I will do yoga. So it has to have a very specific timeline, day and time. Connected to a goal and your strategy, please check this, because many times we start doing those actions which come to us from nowhere, which are not connected to what's most important in our lives. And we have already done that work of identifying the goal that I want to achieve by December 2021. So keep identifying. Now, somebody asked me this question, and a very relevant question. They asked me, how much time should we spend? Because there's so much to do, no? How much time do we need to spend? Or is there a benchmark for it? So I said 20% of the time that you spend in working. I'm not talking about the time when you sleep. 20% of your time you must spend on focused work towards the most important goal that you want to achieve. Because if you do not spend 20% of your time, you are never going to achieve it. And then you're going to be sorry about it. Also in the real world, 20% is an achievable percentage. If I tell you 80% of your time, you say you've gone off your rockers, man. इतना और काम होता है यार, घर का भी तो काम है, वाइफ का भी तो काम है, बॉस का भी तो काम है, ये कहाँ 80% निकाल दूंगा मैं? And that's not feasible, and nor is it required, because in this world that we are in, there are so many things. I call them the most important goals, mix and pigs, pretty important goals. So there will be so many pigs available that you need to do, but 20% time if you can do focused work on achieving your big goals, it is enough for you to achieve great success in life. The last point is by far the most important point, that is, how do I have to identify the desired outcome? If I say that I'll go to the gym 3 times a week and work for 1 hour, it does not give me an outcome that I want to achieve. It must state, while I work for 1 hour in the gym 3 times a week, I must burn 500 calories minimum. Most of us make our actions without the outcome. And because we haven't stated the outcome, we do not know whether we have won or lost. This is some statement that I take. Make a list of 10 potential clients. So this is from a professional context. Make a list of 10 potential clients by Thursday. Now this is the input, what you are going to do. Now the outcome is what? And identify 3 whom I will meet the week after. Because if you make a list of these 10 potential clients who are important to you, but you do not make an outcome of what should happen at the end of your intellectual interaction with those list of clients, you would have gone through those lists without having achieved it. Or walk 3 times next week and cover 10,000 steps each time. So an outcome is very important for actions. Most of us have been taken for a ride by our juniors because they come and tell you all the actions that they are going to take, but without the outcomes. क्या करोगे अगले हफ्ते? Sir, I'll go and meet my clients. अच्छा क्या हुआ? सर मैं मिल लिया. कितनों को मिला? 5 को मिल गया. क्या हुआ? So हुआ कुछ नहीं सर. So if I have to say I'll meet 5 clients and I'll move 2 of them to the next discussion of the sales process. Now it becomes an outcome focused, and you are not only measuring the quantity or the quantitative element of the goal, but the qualitative element also, because the outcome will give me the qualitative outcome, content of the action that I put. Next time anybody gives you any action, please ask them, what are you wanting to achieve after? So what have we done? We have got a vision, we have got a goal, we have come high impact actions, we know how to state them. Now comes action learning. I asked you this question, do we learn through our experiences? How many of you agree with that? Everybody puts up his hand, yes I do. I said absolutely wrong. We never learn through our experiences unless we reflect on our experiences. I go somewhere, whistle. I'm going through experience after experience, but without reflecting as to why am I getting that slap. So we never learn through our experiences. We learn only when we reflect on our experiences. Now that's a challenge, right? Okay, reflect on your experience of what you did yesterday. How do we reflect? So I'm going to share with you something that I learned from Marshall Goldsmith. He's the #1 executive coach in the world. I've been fortunate to be part of his Hollywood movie. So last year I had gone and been a part of his movie, the only Indian leadership coach whom invited to be a part of his movie, which is coming out by the end of the year. It's got a beautiful name and earned life. So I'd gone to San Diego. In my interaction with him, he came and told me something very, very important in context to this. He said, every time you have to take an action. So we have to understand what is the learning cycle, firstly. So the learning cycle is simply this. You go through an action, you reflect on that action, you learn from that action. Whatever you learn, you put into your new plan and go and act out again in a different way, having put your learning into your plan and done it differently. Like Einstein defined insanity, right? He said, what is insanity? He said, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different result is insanity. So doing the same work over and over again without learning from it and making the required changes in it and expecting results is complete insanity. We need to go through this action learning process. Action, वापस आया reflection, reflection के बाद learning, and then put that learning into my new plan. Next time when I go, I do the same action but do it differently. Again, I think it was Shiv Khera who said, successful people don't do different things, they just do it differently, right? So that's what we are trying to do. We are wanting to learn and get better every time we act. And this continuous learning, action learning is what is going to take us where we are. So Marshall Goldsmith taught me how to reflect. So whenever you go somewhere and come back, sit down in a corner and say, oh God, hey Bhagwan. And what does it mean? O stands for objective. Ask yourself, the action that I did, what was the objective of that? What did I want to achieve? So I went to a client, I wanted to discuss with him some new work that he would give us, right? How much of it I was able to achieve? As we said, every action needs to necessarily have an outcome. We have to identify what is the outcome that I went with, what percentage of that outcome I was able to achieve. G stands for good. What went well? So in the action that I did, everything can't go wrong. What went well? What did I do to make it happen? So what are the behaviors I demonstrate or demonstrated during that action which came out, got me some good results? Because we also have to learn from our successes, not only from our failure. That's important to understand. Third is obstacles. What did not go well and why did it happen? What did not go well? Why did it happen? What did I do or not do to make it not happen? And last but not the least, most important part, what will I do different next time? Now, from a professional context, there are some areas where you can think of. So I've given you a guideline. Guideline of what can you do different in preparing. So what did you do to prepare for that action? How can you do it differently this time? What is the process that you followed? How can that process be made better? How did you communicate with people before, during, and after? How can that be made better? What people and resources did you tap into? Were they relevant? Were they good? Were they skilled? Can I tap into some other people or resources? What decisions did I make? And are there some decisions that I can make again better than what they were? And finally, is there some information that I need for me to be able to make a better decision? So based on this, oh God, what was my objective? How much of it I was able to achieve? 10%, 20%, 30%. That you just put a percentage. What went well? What did I do to make it happen? So 30% went well. What did I do to make that 30% happen? What went wrong? What did I do to because of which it did not do well? And what will I do different next time? Now with that, you now come to your learning part of it. What will I start doing? What will I stop doing? And what will I continue? Put that in your new plan. Go out, act again, but now you are acting in a different way. And this different way by which you act, because there are certain things you have not done which you will start doing. There are certain things that you did which were counterproductive, which you will stop doing. And there are certain things you did well and you will continue to do. This is purely action learning. How many of you have heard this phrase? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. John Maxwell says, wrong phrase. He says, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. You never lose in life. Loser is for losers. Here we are learners, right? So sometimes we will win, learn from it. Sometimes we will lose, so-called. I think the only time we will lose is when we fail to learn from it. So action learning done. Now how do we refuel our mojo? What is mojo? It is a positive spirit towards what we are doing now that starts from the inside and radiates to the outside. So it's coming from inside. It is inspiration. Motivation is external, inspiration is internal. So how do we ensure that we are inspired? Because life can be boring. Life can be tough. Who wants to keep doing and working for your goal? But you need to. If you want to achieve something, how can I keep myself inspired? Number of ways to do it. I'll share with you simple one way is create a vision board. We people are more visual than we think we are. Whatever goal you want to achieve, create a vision board where you can put down those things. In fact, at times when I was in the corporate life, I saw some people whom I thought were extremely foolish, who would put pictures of their family, picture of the client, picture of their certificates they had achieved up there on their desk. And I said, what a waste of time and effort, and how unprofessional can somebody be? I was wrong. What they were doing is they were putting the most important things in their lives, which were relevant to them, right up in front of themselves, so that they did not forget that what they were doing, who were they doing it for. So vision board is a great way of doing it. You can also have affirmations, the power of affirmations. Again, I'll not play this video because of lack of time, but you go to YouTube, see so many affirmations. The more affirmations you say, the more energy you will get to be able to achieve, to want to achieve something. Also, we also talked about courage, humility, and discipline. Again, for those who have not done this work, what you need to do is simply this. You need to write down people who have shown courage, humility, and discipline. What are the behaviors that they demonstrate? People who do not show courage, humility, and discipline do not show. What are the behaviors they demonstrate? Write this down, and once you write it down, ask yourself, at least on a weekly basis, are you demonstrating some of these behaviors? This is a good check for us to know, because we get inspired not because of the inspiration first coming from inside. We get inspired largely from the actions that we do. So if you demonstrate these behaviors, so a person with courage, what is he doing? He is going beyond his normal. He is going outside his comfort zone. He is stretching himself. Am I stretching myself? The moment you stretch yourself, you feel good about yourself. What does a person with humility does? He will ask from others. How to do things differently. So he'll be open to listening to people. Listen to them. right? He'll be open to learning new stuff. So am I learning new stuff? So a person who demonstrates this is also a person who inspires himself. Another way of doing it is, again, a very simple way. Ask yourself that if I achieve my goal, what will be the reward of achieving my goal? And what will be the pain of not achieving my goal? Reward if I achieve my goal, pain if I don't achieve my goal. Each one of us is inspired by either a reward or a pain outcome. Some of us are more inspired by pain, less by reward. Some of us more by reward and less of pain. So what we are doing here is we are writing down the reward and pain so that we realize that there is a reason why we have selected these goals and they are going to make a significant impact in my life if I achieve them, and a significant counterproductive impact on my life if I do not achieve them. Right. So that is how you can build up your mojo, your inspiration. I always call the morning affirmation. Get up in the morning, read out your affirmations as to what you're of wanting, of doing what you're needing to do, of feeling confident, or feeling good. So write that down, talk about it, read it out, and at the same time, before you sleep, again do the same over and over again, and you will feel inspired. You'll jump out of it. Last but not the least is holding yourself accountable. Now, most difficult part. I can hold you accountable? Very easy to do. I can hold my child accountable. You did not do this. I can hold my subordinate accountable. But how do I hold myself accountable? Again, a big learning from the master of behavior change, Marshall Goldsmith. He talks about it in his book. He also talked about it when we met him. And he says to be accountable, you have to understand the power of checklist. There's a Dr. Gawande, who wrote a book, The Checklist Manifesto. And he talks about checklist being the most important reason as to why surgeries are successful or not successful. He also talks about the fact how a checklist ensures that a plane flies and comes back and lands safely. So don't get egoistic enough to believe that you will remember everything. You cannot remember everything. How many times it happens when we are going to office? We are very clear of what is important for us for that day. But once we go there, within 1 hour, we forget all that is important. Why? Because the urgency takes us over and the important is put to the side. That is why the behaviors that you and me demonstrate. So what are we saying is the action that we are going to take, we need to write down these actions. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then we have to give a measure on it to say how much of these behaviors and actions that I said I would do, did I do day on day on day on day on day. So this is the power of the checklist. Once you create a checklist and start measuring how well you are doing on each of the actions that you committed to, you are going to hold yourself accountable also for it. Now, another way of doing it is very simple, and this again comes from a research that was carried out in the Institute of Applied Emotional Intelligence, which said if you have an idea, the chances you will do it is only 10%. So we have an idea, the chances we will do it is 10%. If we had an idea and we decided by when we will complete it, the chances we'll complete it is 40%. So we had an idea, we decided when we'll do it 40%. When we decide and make a plan for it, our chances of doing it goes to 50%. So we had an idea 10%. We decided when we completed 40%. We made a plan 50%. Now we commit to somebody to say, hey, I'm committing it to you and I'm going to come and I will do it. You see, I will do it. The chances you will do it goes to 65%. Now there's one element that now if you put in place, this 65% goes to 95%. And what is this? I made a commitment and now I hold every week I go to the person and tell him or her whether what I committed to did I do or not. Right? Somebody asked me again a question in one of the workshops. He said, Pawan, where's the 5% gone? I said, 5% kuch luck ko bhi de do na. Because nothing in life can be 100%. All we are trying to do by learning all this and creating processes is to increase the probabilities of our success. Is it certain we will be successful? Some percentage you have to give to success, but what can I do within my locus of control is do all that I can do within my power to be successful in life. And the 7 steps that we talked about increase the probability of your success. So these are 7 steps process that we talked about. Now, what is the next step forward? There are very simply 3 options that you have. One is do it yourself. You have the entire thing, you're going to get the manual from me, do it yourself. Second is hire a coach to do it. Third is do it as a team. Now again, in the experience of coaching people one-on-one and also coaching a team where everybody gets into this journey and supports each other, I have found the team approach, and we call it the team coaching approach, always is better, because when we start supporting somebody as a coach individually, the person doesn't like it because he says, am I the only person who needs change? What about the others? But when we do it as a team, and every member of a team, and it could be very well, an entire team reporting to a MD, the entire team members choose the areas of growth, and then in a session that we have with them, we are taking all of them together. We find it is a very time efficient way, time and resource efficient way, that in 90 minutes, all 10 or 15 people have committed to what they are doing, what they have done, and what are they going to do next month. And based on that, they also learn big time from each other. That's the better way of doing it. This difficult to do because change, you need help. Again, on this case, more expensive, more time consuming. But team coaching we found is one of the best ways to do it, both resource wise and time wise. So I won't go through the next few slides, which I talked about what is team coaching. But I think we'll end here. Any questions anybody has, just write down on the chat, or you can unmute yourself also. You want to unmute yourself, that's okay. Okay, if there are no questions, I'm extremely delighted to have you here. And I had a great 1.5 hours or so. Any questions, you can reach out to me at pawan@pmconsulting.in. We would love to help you. And as I said, team coaching is something that we believe can work very well for most organizations. It has got a 2-day workshop, and we have done it with at least 22 organizations. I personally have done this work. Right? It's got a 2-day workshop where we make the entire team understand what the team coaching is all about. How are they going to go through this 1-year journey? Having done that, then the recorded version of this of the workshop is given to them. They are put into a LMS. Having done that, then they are given coaching workbooks, and then for 11 months, every month for 2 hours or so, depending on how big the numbers are, and it can be anything but between 5 to maybe 14, 15, 16. at the maximum. We take them into this journey where every person works on his individual growth areas. But the beautiful part is he also starts working with his team in the team growth areas. So while, let's say, 12 people are being coached by us, the impact of this coaching does not remain to these 12 people, because whatever they learn, they also start demonstrating or doing it with their team. And with that, there's a huge growth tsunami that takes place within the organization, and the organization grows big time. Okay, thank you so much. Pleasure meeting all of you. Good framework. Thanks a ton. Had a great time with all of you. God bless, and looking forward to interacting with you. You can connect with me and we can take this forward. Bye-bye. Have a great time. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you so much.